Right, let's kick things off with the political news. We're joined by Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum, Philip Kiszely. Hi, Phil. How you doing?
Hi, Alex. It's so great to see you. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has. Look at that glorious bookcase. Ooh.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you got that thing done right, didn't you, during COVID?
Well, actually, I'm going to use this opportunity to plug what's coming soon in June, at the beginning of June. There'll be more details later, but it is the New Culture Forum NCF LitFest, our second literary festival. We had one last year. It was amazing. It was in Westminster. It was superb. As you can see, I'm obsessed with books. I'm obsessed with detective fiction, spy fiction, very blokey type stuff. It'll be much more political, but we'll be doing that at the beginning of June. More details soon.
Nice. I'm glad you're doing that, actually, because I used to go to the Cheltenham Literary Festival because, you know, I'm from that part of the world, and it's just become so woke now. Sorry, it's sponsored by the Times and they're downstairs, but it has. It's just like, you know, they always dig out Dominic Grieve to do a Q&A and, oh, it's all intersectionality. I assume, therefore, considering you're doing a literature festival, that your guest of honour will be the woman who's written the book saying Shakespeare was a black Jewish lady.
Well, if only we could get her, it would be wonderful, because our audience would really, really, really like to have a go at her. So, but I think somehow she might give us a swerve. But there'll be loads of other stuff. There will be no cancellations. There'll be no nonsense. There'll be no silliness. No egos. It's just going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that too. Bringing literature back into the sensible world again. Talking about the sensible world, do you think reform in Planet Sensible World, threatening to sue Kemi Badenoch over the claims she made about Suella Braverman's mental health? I mean, because this is where the Tory spokesman, when Braverman, both of them said Badenoch, Braverman. I mean, they've both got those confusing A's at the start of their name. But when she defected to Reform, a Tory spokesman said the party did all we could to look after Suella's mental health, but she was clearly very unhappy. I mean, is that really worth some sort of litigation?
No, it's not. They got a real pasting for that, didn't they? Online, in social media, from the public. They made themselves look absolutely stupid. And that's all they need. What Reform shouldn't be doing is jumping in with being lawyered up to the hilt, and being a bit silly about it, actually, and a bit snowflakey and a bit daft, and setting themselves up for a fall, as they have done with the Labour Party and the Greater Manchester Police, because the Greater Manchester Police have just said, oh, well, there's nothing here, you're wasting our time, this is a bit silly. Now, they got all of that goodwill, because I think Matt had played it really, really well, because he's doing brilliantly there in Gorton and Denton, and people just thought the government were just stupid and couldn't believe that they'd stooped to such ridiculous depths. I could believe it, because I see it every day, but the people who aren't following them on a daily basis, we do, couldn't believe that they would stoop to such stupidness and such desperation. But they did, and now it feels like Reform are just throwing a little bit of that goodwill away. They're winning. They're miles ahead. Don't mess it up. Having said that, Alex, I think they've been brilliant in Gorton today. I think Matt's been out and about. He's been knocking on doors, and people have been saying, well, no one's been knocking on doors. No one's done this for 20 odd years. You know, the Labour Party never ever do this. So I think they should just stick to the politics, stick to what they're good at, stick to what Matt's good at.
This is the thing. I think, you know, the way I see it is twofold, really. First of all, I think there could well be circumstances when there's a live election that you're in the purdah period and people aren't playing fair and doing things that will deliberately mislead the voter. And in those circumstances, you are absolutely right as a political party to seek a legal challenge or to report somebody for electoral fraud or whatever it may be. Because if an election result is going to be drastically undermined by somebody who's not basically colouring in between the lines, then fine, we want to protect democracy. And I wouldn't be surprised if Reform have good reason in the future to have to take legal action against either political parties or affiliated organisations and individuals. So doing this, it kind of, you end up in a boy cried wolf situation, don't you? Where it's like, oh, here we go. they've phoned the police, they've spoken to the lawyers again. But also, it's very much, I'd say, quite a Trumpian American thing to do, this litigiousness. But again, I think Donald Trump has far more reason to go about his business like that than Reform do. Because A, first of all, America's a far more litigious society than we are, and I don't want to import that over here, frankly speaking. We've got enough problems with the ECHR and being sent to prison for tweets and stuff without suing everybody on top of it for, I don't know, mispronouncing a name or something. But the attacks on Donald Trump were horrendous. Some of the things he was being accused of, some of the names he was called, and the lawfare against him. But Reform gets a very hard time, and I think more so than any other party, but it's not harming them. It's not actually, as far as I can tell, turning people off them. And it is nowhere on the scale of the severity of the attacks that have been against Donald Trump. And I just think with this, politics is a rough and tumble, and Nigel's been through this for 30 years. You know, I used to be by his side as his right-hand woman back in, you know, sort of 2013, 2014, 2015. And he was called every name under the sun just for saying, oh, Britain should run its own affairs or Britain should control immigration. Things that now are said by the Labour Party or by, you know, whomever. So he's never been thin-skinned, and I don't know where this has come from, this sort of, oh, we better get on the phone to somebody. And I wonder if it's sort of new characters in the party who think that this is what they might do in business, you know, sharp-elbowed in the city, in dot-com world or whatever. No, but it's not very political. It's not politically wise.
No, it's really not. And the point is, people identify with Reform as being under attack all the time, because the kind of people that are voting for them are the kind of people that are shut down, called racist for being patriotic, not allowed to speak at work. They're going to get in trouble for posting something on Facebook or posting something on Twitter. So they really respond to a really good, strong reaction to that, which is saying, no, we're not going to bother with all this stuff. We're not even going to dignify it with a response half the time. Or if we do, it's a clever put down. It's all of that kind of stuff. But I think you're absolutely right in looking ahead and seeing problems further ahead. And I'm thinking, I know a little bit about Manchester. I'm from there, and I've been following this story very, very closely. I think what's going to happen in Gorton and Denton is that there is going to be real sectarian politicking. Islamism is going to play a real role here, and you're going to see that possibly through the Green Party, but you can imagine characters like George Galloway trotting up and shoving his oar in and all of that kind of thing. It's then, because we saw it with Rochdale, one of the like towns, it's then, that's when we're really going to need lawfare and a sense of fair play. All this is muddying the water. I think you're absolutely right.
Do you know, I've said exactly the same thing. I'm not sure if the Green Party selected their candidate yet. Either way, if it is the deputy leader, Mothin Ali, and all the sort of Muslim vote organisations get behind him, then you're right. It is going to become an extremely ugly by-election, because it will be those who basically support, like you said, sectarian politics, the Muslim vote versus that we need to control our borders vote. And it will get ugly. And where we have seen such battles take place politically before in boroughs of London and constituencies dotted around the UK, there have been prosecuted cases of electoral fraud. Because very often, I'm afraid to say, in these communities, they have imported some of the dirty political practices from back at home into the United Kingdom. And so I think that if it does come down to this, if it is that, as we both think it could end up being, there'll probably be a huge problem with postal votes. So save your arsenal for that moment. But also, you know, you become a hostage to fortune in politics if you say something and then 6 months later all of a sudden you seem to be contradicting yourself. Now, this has happened with some of the defectors and people saying, well, you know, there's always a tweet, and I think most of us are happy to just sort of brush that aside and go, okay, you know, it is political to slag off the opposition, and then when they come to you, all of a sudden you pretend you never said that. Okay, that happens. But if you start getting prickly against the sort of messaging or the criticism that other political parties are putting out against you, and then you pretend you're the bastion of free speech and are saying people shouldn't be sent to prison for something they've posted online, you're making it very difficult, actually, to have a leg to stand on when it comes to that stuff.
You really can't be holier than thou. And I think if there's one thing that reform voters really, really detest, and I think you can go with Advance UK and I think you can go with Rupert as well, it's that they do not like that. They do not like this prissy kind of, oh, well, you're going to get in trouble now because you've said something. So I really beg that they do not go down this road. And if they're watching this or if they're listening to us, really don't do that. But I think this by-election is so important because in a way, it's going to give us a window into the future, isn't it? We talked about sectarianism, and I think this, it's so important that reform. I tweeted about this. It's so incredibly important that reform win this election because I think Manchester is really on the brink of falling into the abyss. I mean, it's riven with identity politics. And Islamism. So the identitarians, the woke posh people in the city centre and in places like Prestwich and Chorlton and Didsbury, those places that viewers from around there will know. All of those posh people, they are facilitating the Islamism in the satellite towns because they're shutting down any kind of debate. They are making it the ridiculous woke city. And I'm really worried about it because it used to be the most exciting city, a revolutionary city, a brave city. And it's really, really losing itself. Now, my point is, Alex, that Manchester needs to save itself. And if we can save Manchester from all of this nonsense, this extremism, this identity politics, then maybe, just maybe, we can save the other cities, the big cities in this town.
Apart from Birmingham, that one's gone.
But apart from, I mean, that one's gone. But I'm talking about the Leeds and other places.
No, you're right. I mean, I actually used to live in Burnage, believe it or not, which is
So did I.
Did you? Well, I was on Grangethorpe Drive.
I was just on the edge near Withington.
Oh, I was on the edge near Levenshulme. I was near the park on it was called Grangethorpe Drive, which came off Burnage Lane, I think it was, back in the day. So I know Manchester quite well. And you're right, because in those sorts of neighbourhoods, you've still got old Mancunians, the proper salt of the earth original material. But when you cross the border out towards Longsight and places like that, wow. I mean, it is basically like being in a foreign suburb. I mean, you just walk down the street somewhere like Longsight and you don't see anything that reminds you of Britain at all. And so it is one of those, I think it's going to be one of those by-elections where it will also shine a light onto what could happen in London and other sort of urban conurbations that has this split between those who are still there, what Matt Goodman would call the left behinds, using his own language, and the new arrivals, let's say. And this is sort of defining now how our politics is largely split, not just in the United Kingdom, but across the West as well. We're seeing this with the big anti-ICE demonstrations in America, those people who are saying the rate of change, the demographic change is ridiculous, and also these people are taking us for a ride, they're conning us, they're abusing our system, they're extorting from us, and they don't actually have any kinship with our country or our culture. And those who basically think if you mention anything to do with anybody who's not, born and bred for multiple generations in this country, you're automatically committing some sort of fascistic hate crime.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation that we are now. We're talking about civic nationalism and ethno-nationalism, and I wouldn't have thought even 5 years ago we'd be in a situation where we're actually reducing it to that very simplistic dichotomy, and I don't think we should do. I think it's about your connection with the place. I think it's about what you do for the place. It's not what you can take from a country, it's what you can give to a country, how you can enrich it, and I don't mean that in an ironic way. I mean that in a serious way, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking about Manchester in particular, but like you, I'm thinking about the rest of the country, and I'm worried because what's happening is we've imported all of this horrible stuff from the Middle East. Already Gorton and Denton is about Gaza as far as the Green Party is concerned. What I'm really pleased that Matt and Reform are doing, they are bringing it back to English issues. They're talking about mass immigration. They're talking about electricity bills and utility bills, for God's sake. These are the really important things, especially from people in those places. They don't have a lot of money, right? This isn't a rich area.
No.
They're talking about stopping the boats. They're talking about mass immigration. They're talking about making the environment, the lived environment, better. Getting tough on crime, because if you get tough on crime, then you stop the potential for violence in city centres, and it's simple stuff.
He's a brave man, Matt Goodwin, is what I would say. I mean, first of all, he is a political scientist who also it says he is a pollster. So if he gets this wrong and he isn't elected, but also, like you said, whether he's elected or not, I think this fight's going to get ugly. I think it's going to get dirty. And even if he is elected, I wouldn't want to stand in a constituency, were I to ever do this, where I would fear that my party offices could be burnt down, that I would be receiving death threats. And where you have these MPs in constituencies with big Muslim-born populations, there's always elements in that community who do exactly those things.
Yeah, but it's as I was saying before, I think that's what we've got what we've got to look forward to for the next general election. I think there's going to be so much of that, and of course this has a massive impact on the kinds of people that will be standing. I mean, people will look at what's going on and what will go on. I guarantee you this stuff is going to happen, right?
I know.
People will look at that, and talented people, especially really, really talented young people, are just going to say, oh, that's not for me. I don't want to get involved with that. Why should I? There's nothing in it for me. My life will be put at risk. I think that's where we're going with a lot of this stuff. Okay, and we've already seen it, haven't we? My life will be put at risk. I'll be under constant attack, constant abuse. I won't be able to get anything done, anything meaningful done, because we are looking at sectarian bloc voting.
Yeah.
It's really, really frightening, and we really need to think not only about the politics, but the mechanisms beneath the politics, the blob, the civil service, or the mechanisms that frustrate getting things done, the ECHR, for God's sake, all of that stuff. It's so complex, it's so deep-rooted. There's an awful lot to be done. I just hope and pray that Reform are up to it.